So one celebrity book club absolutely nailed their February selection. A couple were just fine, one completely missed the mark, and one didn't even pick a book. So today we are going through Reese's book club, the Read with Jenna book club, Good Morning America's book club, Oprah's book club, the new Gen Z book club, Sunnie Reads, and Dua Lipa's Service 95 book club, which someone so kindly commented in last month's video to tell me about. But we're going to go through all the books that these celebrity book clubs have selected and decide whether or not these books are worth your time. And as always, I will offer alternatives that I would choose instead if I would have gone in a different direction. Now, of course, I want to say hello to all regular bookish besties, but if you're new here, welcome. I'm Victoria, and every first Friday in the month, we are going to have a little cozy chat and talk about all the latest celebrity book club picks. Now, I will let you know a bit about the book, the premise, the vibes, but more importantly, if I think they're worth your reading time. And because I can't help myself, of course, I'm going to share some of the books I'd pick instead if I feel the book club's selection is a tad bit off. So get comfy, grab your beverage. I have tea today. I am doing an English breakfast today. No sugar, no milk, just straight up tea. And we are going to talk through the February books together. So we're going to do a low-key audit, low-key gossip as well. And we'll look at each of these books and we'll decide together as a community. So it's not just my opinion. Our community can share their opinions as well and tell other readers, hey, are we reading these books? Are they worth reading? Or if we're skipping them. So let's get cozy. Okay, so I've got my notes and I want us to start with Read with Jenna. Because honestly, I feel Jenna usually comes through for us over here. At least for me. And this month she picked One and Only by Maureen Go. I'm not sure how you pronounce her last name, apologies, but I need you all to know right now, I completely endorse this pick. 10 out of 10s. Jenna won with this one in my opinion because this one was literally in my winter reading guide. If you're new here, I do seasonal reading guides every season. I read books ahead and I let you know some of the best books coming out for you to add to your radar. And this was in the winter reading guide. It was in my top 3. It was also on the minimalist reading list. So when I saw Jenna chose this one, I was like, 0 notes, perfect pick, 10s. Now, if you haven't read this book, if you're not familiar with it, here's the vibes. We are following our main character. Her name is Cassia. Don't know how you say that either, but she's a matchmaker for this service called One and Only. Except this isn't your regular matchmaking service because the women in her family have been able to read faces and see past lives for generations. So their backstory is set in Korea and all the things. And present day, they're in Los Angeles and their matches have this unreal 100% success rate. And again, it's because of their secret abilities. Now, our main character, she has been waiting 10 years to meet her fated person. All she knows is his name. And she's at that point where she's like, okay, look, I am ready to settle down, start a family. I'm approaching this big milestone birthday. And I'm kind of low-key panicking that this man may not exist. So anyway, she has this situation happen. There's a meet cute that happens. I'm not spoiling it for you. I'm trying really hard. But it turns into a weekend fling with this person who clearly is not her fated match. So she's like, listen, I'm just here to have a good time. I'm not here for a long time. This is it. It's not going anywhere. However, this person has a connection. They have a connection rather between themselves. It feels real. They keep bumping into each other. But then let's up the ante because then she meets his boss and his name is Daniel. He is her fated person. So essentially, we have this dramatic kind of love triangle situation between the man, she loved in a past life, but also the man that she's drawn to now. And it's kind of seeing, that both of these guys actually are good people and they have good things going on for them. I just want to let you know, this is not going to give us like some villainous situation. They both feel like solid matches, which I think really made the indecision kind of feel agonizing in some sense, but also in the best way. So of course, when we get into, is this worth your time? I'm going to say yes. I think this is worth your time. If you want steamy angst, if you want family drama, if you want humor, if you want heartache and a love triangle that is just impossible to put down, I'm telling you, this is your read. Jenna nailed it. Like I said, 10s. Nailed this one hands down. Okay, let's get to the Reese's book club selection because this one is very interesting. So Reese picked In Her Defense by Philippa Malika. And I want to be very clear. This isn't a high octane legal thriller with the black male defense attorney at the center vibe. This is more moody, twisty psychological suspense. And yes, it happens to be built around a trial. Now, for this one, we're in London. There's a defamation trial that is happening. We have our main character at the center. She's a young woman named Mary, all right? And she's going through it. There's some combatants in the mix. We have Mary's mom, who really isn't, mother of the year kind of material. However, she's a beloved TV star. And then we have Mary's therapist. I forgot her name, but her methods are very unorthodox in nature. It gives predatory vibes. It gives cultish energy. But wait for it. It gets wild here. Our narrator is the Anna's former dog walker. And I found that very interesting. And the dog walker themselves is going through it, coming off a bad breakup, lonely, depressed, doing some really crazy and questionable things where you're like, okay, friend, what is your end game? And the timing is odd with everything, with the trial approaching. And Anna hasn't seen Mary in years. And the dog walker is kind of sympathetic to everything that's happening, but is also suspicious at the same time. And I want to say this book doesn't have a neat bow. It's twisty, it's unsettling, and I'm really avoid talking about it too deep because I don't want to spoil it for you. But there's also elements where it starts moving back in time and showing these characters and just how complex their lives are and just the depths of misery that they're dealing with. So I would go and say the whole reading experience has this very pervasive sense of unease. It does that part well. And honestly, maybe that's what makes it interesting, because it's turned into a young woman's vulnerabilities, the nature of power, victimhood, and just the perspective of all the things. And the questions it raises are fascinating and valid, even though they're kind of unanswerable to some degree. I'm saying a whole bunch of nothing, and you're probably like, Victoria, well, what is it? My take is I feel this is an okay read. It just feels uneven. It's moody. And yes, in true Reese Witherspoon fashion, it does feel like something that would translate well into an adaptation, but not necessarily the best reading experience, in my opinion. So if I were curating a Reese's pick and I wanted a crime read that gave readers an amazing experience, I'm going to give you something else. I'm going to pick How to Get Away with Murder by Rebecca Phillipson. Listen, I have 0 notes for this book and this author, all right? This book was amazing. The premise is bonkers in the best way, because you're getting the story of a London Met DI investigating a strangulation of a student, but you're also reading chapters from a how-to manual by a self-avowed serial killer that explains not how to murder someone, but how to get away with it. Not once, but over and over again. Listen, this is twisty. This is fresh, wildly improbable, but somehow it stays clever and gripping. So for Reese's book club, I would say In Her Defense is a read it if you're in a mood for something moody and unsettling. But read How to Get Away with Murder if you want a properly addictive crime read that will just really keep you reading and turning the pages. But again, maybe Reese's book club pick just wasn't for me. So if you read In Her Defense and if you enjoyed it, share your thoughts in the comments, but I would have gone in a different direction. But again, I understand Reese's foundation of most of the books that they're going to pick, there is going to be some adaptation possibility. Like, even if it isn't adapted, but there is possibility for it, so they have that option, Now, we're still staying in the Reese's universe because we are getting into the Sunnie Reads picks. And this is a new book club, okay? In case you're new here, I talked about it in last month's Audit. This is the Gen Z focused arm of Reese's brand Hello Sunshine. They launched their book club with Beth is Dead by Katie Burnett. And I'm just going to say it again. Absolutely love that book. I gave that book its 10s. It was a smash hit for me. It was also, again, in the winter reading guide, and I talked more about it in last month's video. However, for February, as of the time of recording this, they didn't pick a book club selection. I get it. Life is busy. But listen, if you're a book club, what are we doing? Are we selecting a book monthly? Are we doing it every 2 months? Are we doing it seasonally? I would love to get some direction from this book club. So I checked their socials, I checked their website, I checked for updates. There's nothing announced officially. Maybe, again, they're doing a rest month. I don't know. But if you are looking for something that we can read together as a community, since they haven't selected a book, I feel maybe they're staying in the young adult space. I'm not necessarily sure. But if I had to step in at the last minute with some programming with a new book that is vibes based, I would go in a romantasy, cozy fantasy direction for this month, because we did thriller last month. And I would pick A Practical Guide to Dating a Demon by Hannah Reynolds. I know, completely, huge swing, but this is a really fun vibe. It's a cozy fantasy with academic notes, magical peril, slow burn, supernatural romance. And we have a main character who wants to study cryptography at this very prestigious magical school, but she's dealing with suitors all the time and they're so persistent. So she decides to lie and tell everyone, you know what, I'm engaged already. I'm engaged to a demon. And then guess what? One day a demon shows up and like, hello, fiance, I am here. And the book just has this really funny but charming balance of domestic sweetness. So yes, there are croissants in the mix, but also real stakes with this mystery at the center that just keeps the story moving beyond the romance. The world building was great. I enjoyed cultural elements threaded throughout. The magic is tied to this letter form spellcasting bit, and the romance is just really built on genuine affection and banter. Look, the book isn't perfect, right? Because I will admit the pacing stumbles a little bit under the subplots, but the overall experience is cozy and fun, and exactly the thing I mean Sunnie readers would kind of be in the mood for. And I feel right now, just because everything is cold, it's good to have something cozy and light. However, if you follow Sunnie Reads and you're like, okay, what are we doing this month? Maybe go read this instead until, they've come with their new selection. Okay, we are moving on to Good Morning America now. So let's start with their adult selection. They decided to go with The Exes by Leodora Darlington. Now, this one was okay, in my opinion. I wasn't blown away by it, but I did find it interesting that they selected this book because last month they went historical fiction in January and they're swinging to thriller in February. I mean, that is a choice. But here is the premise of the book, just in case you're not familiar. So we have our main character, her name's Natalie, and she is in her house. Her husband is crying. She feels nothing, like no emotion or anything, just she's completely revolts because he just spent a whole bunch of money, £20,000 of their savings, including an inheritance from her grandmother, okay? Money they were planning, by the way, to use for IVF, because there's that storyline too. So he blows this, and things get worse because he claims he used that money to pay off his brother, who was planning to blackmail her because of letters that suggest that, she might have murdered several of her exes. So the book is a very interesting premise. It unfolds through flashbacks. We learn 3 of Natalie's ex-boyfriends, by the way, truly pieces of work, these men. But however, they are dead. And each time it looks like an accident or something that happened in self-defense. And each time Natalie has these kind of, how do you describe these? Like blackouts where she can't really remember fully what she did. So it becomes this twisty, non-linear thriller, I think, that plays with trauma, mental illness, family history. And there's this question underneath it all of just, is murder ever justified? So I will say, it uses a lot of thriller tropes in there. It does give us some surprises. And Natalie as a character is flawed and, she's distrustful, but she's also strong. And there's this kind of clear thread of the book just refusing to let bad men get away with doing bad things, which I'm like, okay, I am here for this. However, if we're sticking to like the mystery thriller suspense of it all, I would personally opt for something else. So I'm going to go in a mystery direction. I'm swinging again with this one, going a completely different direction with The Midnight Taxi by Yosha Gunasekera. I hope I'm saying the name right, but I would go with that book instead because the reading experience is so strong. So we have Siri, this New York City taxi driver who drops off this passenger at JFK and realizes, hey, a man has been murdered in her back seat. And now she's looking like she's the only suspect. So she has a couple days to kind of really solve this crime before the grand jury kind of happens. And obviously, she might end up being locked away for a long time. So it's a locked room style puzzle. It has real momentum in the mix. It's fun, it's brain teasing, but it doesn't shy away from the hostility she faces as a person, who's a taxi driver, a woman of color, who's also dealing with law enforcement. And Siri herself is just a very compelling heroine. She's tart, she's funny, she's smart. She's the kind of character you genuinely want to follow. So I think the Good Morning America's main book club pick was fine. However, my alternative is the one I'd raced through. I just keep going. However, we do need to talk about the YA pick, because they went with Sibylline by Melissa de la Cruz. And look, this one is richly atmospheric, but it just was not the best Melissa de la Cruz. It was uneven, the execution wasn't great, and if I'm going to be honest, it was disappointing. Now, the premise is great, because we have 3 friends who get rejected from this school. Sibylline is like this college of magical arts. It's like a very Ivy League kind of school for magically inclined people. So instead, they take jobs at this college in Vermont, trying to slip into lectures and get lessons anyway. The setting, absolutely divine. It gives cozy, dark academia vibes. The shadowy library, the cobblestone streets, the bookshop cafe, just everything. The vibes are vibing. However, I felt the execution didn't fully land for me. So too much time is spent on rehashing the trio's romantic feelings for each other, which for me just really dilutes the central mystery. There's this very explicit sex scene near the end that feels just very out of place. I'm not against the scene, but just, compared to the rest of the book, it doesn't fit. So it makes like, who is this book for? I don't know who this book is for kind of thing. So if I was curating the YA pick and I still wanted fantasy, I would have chosen The Sun and the Star Maker by Rachel Griffin. Now, this is a delicious winter romance. It has fairy tale magic in the mix, because we have our main character who discovers that she can channel sunlight magic essentially to her snow-covered mountain village. And we see her having to choose where she can train at this Star Maker's enchanted castle, or she can die as her untapped magic just really destroys her. The world building is whimsical and real. The romance actually, has a fire to it. I love it. And our main character, Aurora, she's so stubborn, but she's brave. And, she's stubborn and brave in a way that makes you want to cheer for her. You want to get behind her. So it's emotionally involving, and it really brings a fresh twist to familiar, fairy tale kind of elements. And I think I would have gone in that direction for a YA book club pick. Okay, now let's get into Oprah's book club, because of course, Oprah, the OG, could not wrap this up without, kind of touching on Oprah as well. Here's the thing. As of recording, we do not have an Oprah's book club selection. I was hopeful Oprah was going to select something at the top of February. However, I did check her Instagram and they said that their new pick is coming February 24th. So for right now, we're on standby. So odds are I'll be talking about that pick in March's audit. Now, as always, I come prepared, and I'm just going to say, if she was selecting a book at the top of February, I have some books that I thought would be good Oprah conversation starters. So the first one I'm going to say is Kin by Tayari Jones. And yes, I know I'm a hypocrite, because I don't love when celebrity book clubs pick authors they've selected before. I get it. But the only reason why I'm bringing it up is because Kin is one of the best books out there this month. It's so beautifully written. It's so powerful. It's compelling. It tells a story of a lifelong friendship born in hardship and just really tempered by adversity. And it has this intimate yet musical language that Tayari Jones just does so well. It also kind of feels reminiscent of An American Marriage in terms of interrogating injustice through personal relationships. So I felt like, listen, if Oprah wanted, that big meaty literary moment, Kin would have been a good pick. But again, I don't like when they select books from authors they've already selected before. So if we're going to pick a new author, I'm going completely left with this pick, and I'm going with Mass Mothering by Sarah Bruni. This is a strange and fascinating read, and we have a woman at the center of the story who is reeling from medical trauma, and she becomes so immersed in translating this unusual book of true crime at the same time. So it turns into this kind of prismic exploration of motherhood, language, borders, and belonging. It's truly original. It's not perfect, listen, but it's good. And it's exactly the type of book that I think would spark rich discussions right now. And finally, because I love hyping debuts, and this is a good debut. Again, not perfect, but good. And it's Good People by Patmina Sabit. This is framed as an oral history about an Afghan American family and a young woman's suspicious death. And it has this provocative setup where everyone is striving for moral high ground while also operating within different cultural systems. It's a little overlong, okay? And some of the voices blend together. But the conversation potential with this book is huge. So, Oprah's team, if you are watching, which I know you aren't, but let a girl dream, okay? It would have been Kin. Kin would have been my pick. But of course, we have two other authors who could have really benefited from Oprah's powers of her selecting their book as a book club selection. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see what the first book is going to be from Oprah. Okay, now I'm adding a book club that I never had last month, and it's Dua Lipa's Service 95 book club. Dua Lipa is low-key one of the best celebrity book club curators working right now. I'm very impressed. And I say best because she is taking risk like nobody else. She is picking global literature. She's not just picking books from the bestsellers list. She's also picking backlist books. And I was just like, okay, I like this. So I just want to thank Alistair in last month's video who left a comment who mentioned that, Dua Lipa's picks are great. So yeah, I hopped over there and we will be tracking this book club going forward, okay? So this month they picked The Son of Man by Jean-Baptiste Delamot, which was translated by Frank Wynne. This is not a light book. This is not light by any stretch of the imagination. It's intense, but it's atmospheric. It is the most literary pick of the bunch, I have to say. But it's also deeply readable in that I feel haunted and I don't know why I can't look away from this book. And let me tell you a bit about the story. So it starts with a man, there's a woman, and there's a child who are driving out beyond the borders of this very sleepy town. It's French, it's post-industrial town, and they're going off into the mountains. And the father has reappeared after years of being absent. He's intent on being a family again. And he takes them to this very dilapidated house where he grew up with his father. And his father, by the way, was very ruthless. Now, the mother in the story is watching the days pass, and she's watching it with apprehension and seeing that the son is falling under this very bewitching enchantment of nature, like, the forest, the wild horses, the blue skies that are so starry, by the way, all of these things. But the father starts exerting this very growing hold over them, and starting to dictate like very mysterious things of laws of their existence. And he has been stockpiling provisions and all kinds of things. Listen, spring turns into summer, summer turns into autumn, and then the house just starts to fall in further disrepair, and the return to their old life just really starts to feel impossible. It is a wild examination of how violence is inherited and how families can fold together but break apart, and just all these things that can happen under duress. Listen, is this book for everybody? No. But if you want the popcorn thriller vibe, this is not it. But if you want to expand your reading horizons and kind of read something that is truly elemental, truly unsettling, and kind of low-key timeless, I think this might be worth your time. Again, I'm very impressed with Dua Lipa. Again, her selections are not like everyone else's, but I love this for her, and I want her to keep selecting these very different books and putting them on our radar. All right, so that is our audit for February 2026. I think we had some big misses, we had some safer bets, and we had one absolute literary gem from Dua Lipa and a great romance from Read with Jenna. But I want to know, are you reading any of these books? Are you going with any of my alternatives? But also, are you frustrated with book clubs if they don't pick books on a set schedule? Even if it's every other month, would you like to know what their calendar is? Or you're just happy to wait for them to just, drop a book in your lap? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and also which of these book clubs you actually trust the most. But if you're new here, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you're the first to know when new videos are uploaded, but also when I go live. And if you're looking for something else to watch, to keep you company, I did share my February TBR video. I am trying to do something ridiculous, and that's read 30 books in 28 days. I'm not one of those strict challenge people, so if I don't make it, that is fine. But I have a mix of books I'm reading in advance for the summer reading guide, books that are on my physical TBR, and some classics as well. So be sure to check out that video, but also my January wrap up, just in case you want to know my thoughts on the books that I've actually read already. So there are lots of fun videos here on the channel. Again, check them out. But until next time, like the video, share the video, tell a friend to tell a friend about the channel. But I'm so looking forward to talking to you in the next one where we can just, hang out and talk books and kiki and have a good time. Alrighty, everyone. Talk to you soon.